we were shocked to see that culture scores during the pandemic actually increased. What we think this means is that when our backs are against the wall, it's amazing what can be achieved. As I mentioned earlier, the rate of digitalization and use of virtual means to get the work done, this moved really fast. In just a few months, there was a lot of transformation. Then as people begin to look at longer term, they started to look at how to make this work, how to make it efficient, how to scale. And so, we think that there's a powerful message here that when our backs are against the wall, there's really no limit to what can be accomplished. And how exciting a time, a little scary for sure, but how exciting a time is it as we're creating the organizations that guide us into the future.
If we know empirically that positive cultures drive organizational performance, then it becomes a business imperative. We know it makes a difference, and you'll hear me talk quite a bit about being deliberate, therefore, because cultures happen. And if you don't grab it, and if you don't own it, and if you don't become really planful and really deliberate, then it has an organic way of altering that you just don't have control on as an organization. And the co-creation of an organizational culture from the top down, the bottom up, and the outside in is really, really important. This is what is going to make our organization successful. And of course, we will course correct if something happens, either within our control or outside our control, but we will equally celebrate. We will celebrate the success and the wins that a culture program like this will have.
I think in HR today, we jump to fads. We jump and we try these ideas that are great, but they're not integrated. We need a shared definition and metrics to focus on a framework of what I'm going to call human capability. And let me tell you why I picked the word human capability. I think the work of HR, again, you're a business leader, an HR leader sitting there saying, how does my company succeed in the marketplace? I think there's 4 questions you ask. In red is talent. Do we have the right people? That's the human capital. In blue, my fist, is the organization. That's the culture, that's the innovation, that's the collaboration, strategic clarity, purpose, efficiency, quality. Green brings those together. Leadership. Do we have the right leadership? So in my world, we have a framework that organizes complex thinking. I'm sitting in a meeting and I'm saying, do we have, we want to succeed in the marketplace with customers. Do we have the right talent? Do we have the right organization? Do we have the right leadership? And then my forearms represent the HR systems. Do we have an HR service center systems that allow those things to happen? Our job is to have an integrated framework. And I think this is a very simple template of human capability.
The purpose is why we exist. The vision is basically where we're trying to get to. And the mission is how we do that. This purpose needs to be at the intersection of 4 things. It's what the world currently is looking for, what you or your company is very good at, what the people that work for you or the people that you would like to attract are passionate about, and then how you can use that to create value. And at the middle of that Venn diagram, that's where you find your noble purpose.
This project is not about one size fits all, as we have many differences in our organization. So we have differences on vertical level, country level, maturity level, and we also have quite a decentralized structure. So our culture will never be exactly the same in every country, but we do think that it is very important also to do things together, as together we can achieve so much more. So looking for commonalities and how we can leverage of the strength of the whole is what it is about.
Our whole journey has been about co-creating. So in all of these areas that we spoke about, we've engaged the employees and the leaders, both in terms of communication, getting buy-in, keeping them involved in the decisions. It has always been about co-creating because we believe that it cannot be done alone, especially with such an enormous organization. We've requested everybody, including the leaders and the employees, to have all hands on deck to work on the following 4 areas. The first one being that we would communicate in an open and transparent way. The second one is about living our values. The third one, providing skill development and capability development along with career paths for all the critical roles within the organization. And last, but the most important one, we believe, is to build one ETG. We all need to walk the talk, and everybody needs to role model, not just the leaders, but all the employees within the organization as well.
So now that we co-created the purpose, the vision and the values, we empowered the leaders in this journey, it is also important for us to create an ecosystem for success and growth. Culture is all about the way things are done around here. Some say it is the role of the CEO to be the keeper of the culture, or it is to HR to manage the culture. But ultimately, the culture of an organization is the collective responsibility of all our team members at every level and in every role.
Thomas and their team and his team, they've been working with the EFQM model for 7 years by now, and they are in a transformation journey with this EFQM model. But we see why with cultural leadership, mass sustain and sustainable growth depends on how am I able to create and deliver that value efficiently today and tomorrow. Effectiveness and efficiency ensure the present, but only innovation and transformation can take us into the future. But why with cultural leadership? Because EFQM 2020 tells us, in today's VUCA circumstances, none of the above can be achieved without the commitment and engagement of people, and that depends on leadership and culture. We know every day for breakfast, culture is a strategy, or any work with the rest of the criteria of the EFQM model. So Thomas called us and say, let's work on it, please.
So we start with action cultural learning as the first pillar of that process. Second, planning agile strategies. Later, do flexible organizations and contributory performance evaluation. So at the end of this process, the next steps is to start again the cycle and to deploy step by step, part by part, because this cycle for sure will produce good results in our plant.
And we won't stop, because Arcelor has structured the knowledge and proactive work in cultural leadership as a process that now is integrated in their management system. And it will be essential in every strategic reflection and or process improvement. So now we won't stop.
Nothing changes faster the way that people act than changing the way they think. And certainly, yes, in a technology company, data is key. But the challenge is that people accept them when it focuses on human behavior. We are a company very familiar with use the data to make business, not to see us, not to explore how it goes with these behaviors and these numbers when we are talking about people. The only way to change and move the rock is to be key players, make everyone a part of this adventure, of this challenge. And as it's happened to people, when a company starts knowing itself and recognizing itself in this culture, it's only a matter of time until results are obtained.
I'm interested in the language that we use around culture.
You know, the way that we've staged this is we've talked about it as building blocks. So defining your values is really about your set of expectations of how you would want people to sign up to. Then we actually allowed teams to work out what are the behaviours for each of those values. So what does doing the right thing look like? And then what we talked about was it's the behaviours that will drive the culture.
Any final thoughts or reflections?
Yes, I think if there are any CEOs in the audience, culture is your responsibility. It's not your HR. It's not HR's responsibility. It's not some designated champion of culture. It is your responsibility. And I strongly believe if you, as CEOs, if we invest time and energy into culture, behaviors, and values, then actually organizational performance looks after itself.